The Brad Reddick School is the crown jewel of Missions International of America. Since opening its doors in 2006, more than 2,000 students have received a free kindergarten through 6th grade education. This year, 29 students will graduate from the 6th grade. That is right, Laura. And before I get to that, let me just tell you that I am standing on the corner of Tracy and Oakdale. We're about a half mile from this grain silo. 45 seconds. That is the amount of time that elapsed from the moment Alfred Evans walked into the Bengals Food Mart on Airport Highway, handgun drawn, demanding money, and until the moment he lay dead on the floor, having been shot to death by the store clerk. It was the latest and deadliest in a string of gun battles between store owners and would-be robbers. Less than 48 hours after one of the most devastating tornadoes in the history of Ohio tore through this small community, residents beginning the slow, painstaking process of picking up the pieces. On the corner of Woodland and City Park in central Toledo is this Ohio historical marker that indicates where acclaimed jazz musician Art Tatum grew up. But the house sits abandoned and boarded up. Fans of Mr. Tatum say that now is the time to do something with this house that matches his legacy and contributions to Toledo. Art Tatum was born in October 1909 and called this house on City Park near Dorr his home for many years. He was blind in one eye and had only partial vision in the other eye. Nevertheless, his talent would take him all over the world, performing with other music superstars and some of the great entertainment venues in the industry. But he often came back to Toledo to perform, and for his fans here, his legacy endures.
His legacy is so significant in that it's enduring, even in the face of people not paying attention or maybe not seeing the visible support.
Washington was surprised to see the condition of the house. He believes Tatum deserves better.
Just giving the exterior, some presence that's purposeful and respectful of Art Tatum's legacy.
A neighbor who just moved onto the block a few weeks ago was at first excited to learn he was living just a few houses away from the childhood home of a music icon.
I've lived in other cities and passed through other cities that have a lot of historical houses, and they keep them all very well maintained. Very well maintained. As for historical houses should be. If you're going to make it historical, make it look historical, not make it look like it should be torn down.
Washington believes that the Tatum home has the potential to be a tourist attraction.
This could be like on a bus tour. Have the Tartar trolley come by and show people this is Art Tatum's birthplace. Down here was this is Lucas Alley, where he used to go down and perform in garages and things.
Washington has had discussions with other Art Tatum fans and believes there are enough people who could come together to raise the funds to make Tatum's childhood home come alive again. The annual average income for a Haitian is less than $700 a year. That equates to less than $2 a day. In the small village where the Missions International of America team works, unemployment is 100%. So when Dr. J, as the villagers call him, comes to the Savonette, they know there will be work to do.
Surrounding this compound to make three things: a guest house for the American missionaries who come and work, and a conference center where we can bring a group of 120 Haitians in to train them from all over Haiti in agricultural and farming techniques.
The first task on day one last week was to choose the workers. The original plan was to hire 50 workers, each to be paid $10 a day for 4 days. 120 men showed up. So Dr. J decided to hire an additional dozen men. And as the last few names were called out, tensions flared when some realized their name would not be called. As some tried to break up the fight, Jan was ushered out of harm's way. She was determined to complete the hiring process, but realized that everybody needed a time out.
For about the last hour and a half, we have been trying to choose workers, and it's probably the hardest part of the week for me. It's usually the place where I melt, Because these men, we had about 120 men for 62 jobs. These men aren't asking you to give them money. They want to work to feed their families.
Theogen Esmiley, known as Smiley, is one of the Nielsen's top Haitian workers who oversees the hiring process.
It's always like this. At the first hours in the morning, when we started to hire them, everybody fight for jobs.
Jan says at no time during the melee did she feel threatened.
I was not at all concerned. There is no way in the world that these men would hurt me. There are a multitude of men out there that literally would protect me with their life. I wasn't the slightest bit concerned. There were a couple of men who came immediately up to me and surrounded me just in case.
The workers were eventually chosen and sent into the fields to work. At lunchtime, I showed them the video of the fight. They realized how foolish it was and had a good laugh. Those that were not chosen this time will not be forgotten.
Each time we come, we will have a new list, and they will work the next time.
They got too many of them still to get out.
I had just begun talking to Jerry Sexton about the problem of abandoned houses on Park Street when our conversation was interrupted.
They got too many of them still to get out.
At first, there was confusion about what we had just heard.
They got too many of them still to get out. And ladies and gentlemen, we do have fireworks or shots being fired.
I'm pretty sure that was a hammer.
No, because that window just busted out right there. I watched the glass fall.
The gunfire was aimed at this house, which sits directly across the street from where I was speaking with Mr. Sexton. One of the bullets hit the window on the front door, shattering the glass. The owner of the home came out moments later and couldn't believe what he saw.
Why? I have no beef with anybody. I'm speechless. I don't even know what to say. Something needs to be done. I think they've written off the north side.
I had come to talk with the residents on Park Street about the abandoned houses on their block, some of which were being used by drug dealers and addicts. This week, the city has begun to demolish the homes.
I'm happy about it. They need to finish tearing down the rest of them, and then I think the neighborhood might be better.
But after this,
Too many of them still to get out.
one resident has had enough.
It's nuts. It's time for me to get out of here too.
Police showed up several minutes after the shooting. No one was injured. Hubert Wiggins, WNWO News.